another Motorcycle Money Flip. I appreciate y'all tuning in today. I actually recently just got a new tire on the Harley, and so I wanted to share a little bit of experience with you. I was actually just getting on, Amazon like I always do, find parts, things like that, and other online places, and I came across this tire. As you can see here, it is a, let me get here where I can see. It is a Dunlop 404F. Now this is what they call an 80-90-21, which is a very popular tire for a 21-inch rim. Very popular. Or I should say 21-inch rim is very popular. Dunlop is very popular for a 21-inch rim. Dunlop 404F is very popular for an import 21-inch rim. Why? Because the weight rating is much lower. The weight rating on this tire is much lower than the Dunlop 402, which is designated for Harley Davidson. So I bought this offline. They even said it would work online. The reviews said it would work for Harley Davidson. So I was like, you know what? Great, I'm gonna pick it up. It's a Dunlop. Dunlop's a good brand. I should be fine. All right, the bad thing, I get up to the tire place to mount it up, and they're telling me that this tire is not going on my Harley. Well, I asked, well, why not? I already paid for it. It's ready to go on the Harley. This one is not rated for a Harley because of the weight. These sidewalls are much thinner on this one, and the ones for the Harley are much thicker to accommodate for the weight. So I ended up not getting this put on. They actually recommended a tire for me that they had there at the shop that was pretty cost effective, since I like to be cost effective with my builds without risking the quality by any means. So got a, what they call a, what is this thing? Shinko? S-H-I-N-K-O. So, by the name, I'm obviously very skeptical. But looked up the reviews. Tire actually is really good. It's rated pretty well. Now, this is definitely on the low-end side of tires, so it's probably not going to last like that last one did. Gosh, I think that lasts 5 or 6 years. This one may only last 3 or 4 years, but for the time current I was in, for the money that it was worth, and for the safety it provided over the current tire that I had, I definitely did it. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to move into putting this tire back on the bike. So starting off, let's get mounted. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you get your disc brake mounted back on the tire. I usually always take these off whenever I take them to the tire center. It makes it much easier for them to be able to mount the tire. So get the disc brake mounted back on there, which is these 5 screws. It's usually an Allen wrench because Allen wrench is set very flush into the wheel well, allowing them to rotate freely within the tire. So make sure you get those in there. Always tie them crossways, so meaning start at this bolt, move down to one that's opposite, move to another one that's opposite, move to another one that's opposite, move to another one that's opposite, and continue this pattern back and forth, tightening them until you feel like all of them are tightened. Give a good torque down, give a good torque down, give a good torque down, give a good torque down. Now this rotating, instead of going in a circle or something of that nature, is very important, because by rotating them, you allow it to set flush and tighten. If you go in a circle, it can actually set at an angle and not actually set flush, causing it to wobble once it gets onto the rim, causing it not to move freely through the brake pads, and causing some more damage. So once you got your brake rotor onto your rim, it's time to get it back on the bike. Just to show this process is very similar on multiple bikes. This is a Honda. It's got the 2 bolts here that loosen the axle, and then you rotate the axle out. Now you'll see on the Harley it's a little bit different. This has actually got some custom parts on it, but the 2 set screws are underneath, setting the axle in place. See a little bit better from this angle. See the screws underneath holding the axle in place, but it's the same process. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the rim over here, and we're going to run the axle through it, we want to make sure that our speed sensor is in and set inside the hub of the wheel when we run that axle through there, so we don't lose our speedometer. So the most important thing to do whenever you're getting your tire back on is make sure that you line your tire up with the floor jack. So you use a floor jack kind of like this one right here, made for motorcycles. Got it at Harbor Freight, very inexpensive. It allows you to pivot your bike on the jack, taking all the weight off of it. Mainly because whenever you're putting this tire on, you have to line this up very straight to be able to get it to go through. There's a bearing here, and it needs to go through that bearing. So if you have it set at the proper height, see, like right now, I'm not having to hold this tire up off the ground to be able to get this pin through. I just kind of started trying to get the pin in there the best I could after I made sure that the bike was level to where the tire would be sitting if it was in place. So now the important thing, moving around to the other side, is whenever you put your speed sensor back in, on the speed sensor, see if I can get a good look at this. On the speed sensor, right here on the rotor, there's a cutout, one little notch. On the speed sensor, there's a little notch. This little piece right here that spins around, there's a little notch on it. Well, to make the speed sensor work, this little notch has got to be in that little cutout on the rotor. So you want to line this up and put it, make sure it is in place on that rotor and lined up where that notch is. And once it is, it'll kind of hold itself in place. Now I'm going to take an extra couple seconds here as well, since there's a little bit of buildup of grease. Now I'm just going to clean up all that buildup of grease, make it look nice and pretty in here. I like things to look good when they get put back together. Once you get back to that part, you want to slide that back over. Now with the bike lined up on the jack, like I said, you'll be able to slide that right on through and into this hub. Now you can't see it from the camera view, but on the inside here, there's a threaded portion on the inside of this rod. So what we're going to do is we're going to line this rod up, that threaded portion. We're going to keep, sometimes you got to hammer it in a little bit, but then we're going to set that, we're going to tighten this from this side, we're going to come back over here, on this side. On some, like I showed you earlier on the Honda, it's a big hex. On this one, it's actually a hex key. So we're going to go in here and grab the right hex key, tighten this down in there, and your tire is back on. So the most important things, line up this rod as it goes through the bearings. Make sure if you have any spacers in place, like this one had a spacer right here, make sure you get those spacers back in place. On the other side, make sure that once you get your speed sensor lined back up on the wheel, that you also make sure that when doing that, you get this tab on the right notch on the rotor, so that way it works. And then after that, you're all good to go. So thank y'all for tuning in to another Motorcycle Money Flip. Hopefully this will show you how to take off and reapply your tire, so that way you can actually take advantage of some of these great deals online and be able to pick up your tire online, be able to take your rim off your bike yourself, take it up to a local motorcycle shop. If you're in the Dallas area, I prefer Bates over in Farmers Branch, North Dallas area. Bates is a great place. They'll mount your tires up for like 25 bucks. And not to mention, if you run into a situation like I did yesterday and you take the wrong tire to put on your bike, they'll definitely explain to you why you wouldn't want to do something that you might be thinking about doing. So, great place to go up there and visit those guys. And thanks again for another Motorcycle Money Flip. You enjoyed watching my video and seeing more money for motorcycles. Be sure to subscribe below and see more videos like this.